Good morning, Penn High School. This is Ron Williams.
This is Ron Paulus. This is Ron and Ryan in the Morning Podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Penn scoreboard at the Cathedral Invite on Saturday. Penn volleyball lost all 4 matches, losing to Meridian, Center Grove, New Albany, and Avon. All very hard-fought games, so Penn volleyball remains undefeated in the NIC.
You know, they beat Elkhart Memorial to stay undefeated in the NIC this weekend, but playing all these good teams in the Cathedral Invite, I mean, that's basically what football does. You know, we're playing all these good teams. We're playing Valpo, number 1 5A in the state. We're playing St. X, who's 39th in the nation or whatever they are now. You know, it just gets everybody better. That's what I feel like that's what volleyball is trying to do, and it's successful. It works for football usually, and obviously it's going to work for other sports.
Penn was 1-1 on the weekend, getting beat by Columbus North and then beating the 7th-ranked team in Illinois, Glenbrook South. Penn football played on Saturday after the Friday night game versus St. Joe got rescheduled until the next day. Saturday morning, Penn beat St. Joe 34-2. Kyle Riffle had 3 rushing touchdowns, Nick Favilla had 1 rushing touchdown, and Nick Hardrick had a pick 6.
You know, it's good to see Nick get into the mix with the rushing touchdowns. Kyle's been running the ball a lot lately. You want to keep his legs fresh, see him healthy. St. Joe, we didn't need him that much, but obviously he still carried the team. He had 2 3-yard touchdown runs, I think a 9-yard touchdown run. So we were in the red zone, and we needed him, so we pulled him out. And then Nick also came in. He had a 12-yard touchdown run. He threw the ball all right that game, too, so that was good to see.
Defense was balling too. Nick Hardrick had a nice pick 6. We also had a blocked field goal that we returned for a good chunky yardage to set the offense up for a score. And then shut them out defensively. Penn girls soccer had a heartbreaker versus Noblesville.
With Penn future games looking up to this week and later this week, Penn girls soccer hosts Central this week as the last regular season game, and next week Penn holds the first of their 4 games of their sectional. Volleyball plays Adams and New Prairie away this week, and then a big home game versus Glenn, which is a big game because Glenn is 1 game out of winning the NIC, which Penn's in first right now because we're still undefeated. Glenn has 1 loss, St. Joe has 1 loss, so these are big games that we're looking forward to coming up, and then we're going to end the season with a Mishawaka game. Boys soccer plays Goshen this week at home and then away versus Elkhart Central. The boys soccer section starts next week as well. Penn football plays this week at New Prairie, a huge game, but this year New Prairie has a new outcome in sight this year because of their undefeated season. Last year's score was 35-7. What do you think about this year's game, Ryan?
You know, they're a tough opponent. They're obviously having a good start to their season, so hope we're just going to come out prepared.
You know, they have a good coach. He's been there a while. He knows what he's doing. They run the ball a lot. Last year, they had a very young O-line. They had a few freshmen and a few sophomores sprinkled in there with the upperclassmen, so they weren't as experienced guys. So this year, they're looking to come out and have a pretty big season, which they've done so far. Having an undefeated season, but they did have that close game versus Mishawaka.
Game that was decided by what should have been called a down after that hurdle, but the refs missed one and they got away with it.
Yeah, New Prairie got the win, kept their undefeated season. You know, Penn, we're looking to change that this year. I mean, people say we've had a rough start to the year, but we played good teams, good opponents, getting us ready for these bigger games later in the year. This week's off-campus topic is fantasy football. How's your team doing this week?
You know, I took the L this week. Tom Brady did not play very well for me, only racking in 3.7 points. Delaney Walker also really messed me up. 1 reception, 4 yards for 1.4 points. And the Colts defense, sadly, I still have them. Only got me 2 points.
There's your first mistake.
Yep.
But yeah, my team, we were doing good. I mean, we looked good at the beginning of the season because I had Baker Mayfield, right, and I had Saquon Barkley. They were my first 2 draft picks. But Saquon just got hurt, and I forgot to take him off my starting lineup. So there's 0 points. And then Baker Mayfield's been doing awful so far to start this season. He has been doing bad, but 12, 14 points isn't going to win you a game. You need a guy like Lamar Jackson, which is why I picked him up. It was the second week of the season. First game in, he gave me 27 points. Next game, he gave me 35. So hopefully I can start winning games. But right now I'm last in the league, which I'm the commissioner of.
Yeah, I'm 1-2. You know, not doing as good as I hoped to be. Traded pretty much my whole team for Tom Brady, and 3.7 points. Come on now, man.
You know he's not a stat leader.
You gotta do better.
What was their score this week? 13-7, just squeezing by the Buffalo Bills.
16-10.
16-10. See, there's your first problem. They're not a huge stat team. He's obviously not running. Lamar Jackson's going to be running all over the place.
Jarvis Landry kind of showed up for me, 24.7 points. Thanks for listening to Ron and Ryan in the Morning. This podcast was brought to you by The Pennant.
Be sure to check out the Pennant Twitter page and feel free to DM The Pennant with any questions or comments you had on the podcast.